Soros. He calls him rich and dangerous. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said, and I quote, Mr. Soros is an old, rich, opinionated person sitting in New York who still thinks that his views should determine how the entire world works. Such people actually invest resources in shaping narratives. Listen in to what exactly he had to say.
The individual in question, Mr. Soros, is a old, rich, opinionated person sitting in New York who still thinks that his views should determine how the entire world works. Now, if I could only stop at old, rich and opinionated, I would put it away. But he is old, rich, opinionated and dangerous. Because what happens is when such people and such views and such organizations, they actually invest resources in shaping narratives.
Going across to my colleague Abhishek Jha, who tracks the MEA very closely. Good morning to you, Abhishek. Rich and dangerous is what Dr. S. Jaishankar says. So, does the government perceive a threat from the comments of George Soros? First, that attack by Union Minister Smriti Irani. And many would say S. Jaishankar could have refrained from commenting on George Soros' attack. But going ahead to comment, could this again be seen as intolerant of criticism?
Exactly, Shilpa, we'll have to see it in a perspective where India is coming from. Jaishankar was speaking at ORF Sydney's dialogue, and where he has tried to explain the democracy that India has, the perspective of India on the issues of democracy, and not the North Atlantic view of democracy or the Western view of democracy. Also, in that context, he has said that somebody who is rich, opinionated, and sitting in New York cannot lecture everybody around the world how they should be living or how the world should be running. And in that context, he has said that he's rich, opinionated, and actually dangerous because he doesn't probably understand the way India or a democracy of 1.4 billion people would work, and its need, its challenges, its concerns. And hence he has called him dangerous because we know that Soros has been an investor, a person who has had a very checkered past. He has been involved in particularly overthrowing various regimes in various parts of the world. And so when people like Soros comment on India's democracy or a government setup, where he directly criticizes Prime Minister Modi and says that India's Prime Minister is an undemocratic person, this calls for not only attention but also concern that such people or such foreign hands are increasingly getting involved in India's domestic or political affairs, and they could be dangerous because their past have been dangerous. They have been involved in various countries where they have politically tried to shape the narrative or overthrow a particular government or support a particular party. So in that context, Jaishankar's remarks are really important because it is being said at a dialogue forum where international people, scholars, academics, diplomats were present.
Abhishek, could these comments and this sort of highlighting of George Soros' attack actually be part of a Streisand effect? Because Soros was speaking at a technical conference in Munich, and the government has reiterated his comments, highlighted them, and gone ahead to attack them. First the MEA had rejected the BBC documentary, now criticizing some more external comments coming in. How do you see that narrative being shaped up?
So what India or the ministers in the government are trying to do, they are trying to explain the fact that India will set its own narrative and it will not be perturbed with the kind of intervention or the interest that these vested interests will be taking in India's domestic politics. We saw the government explaining why it had raided or surveyed the BBC, the institution where there have been multiple malpractices in terms of evading taxes. They have said that they will come with further explanation as to what all did they find during those survey at BBC offices in Mumbai and Delhi. Talking about Mr. Soros, he has also been found to be involved in various nefarious activities across the world, overthrowing not only dictator governments but also involving his company or promoting a particular set of ideology in democratic setup. Also, in fact, he's been alleged to have involved in Democratic and Republicans. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing us that perspective, Abhishek, going across to some